the industry would put you in that folk music, pop music box, we think that you're not necessarily, you don't seem to be bound to a specific genre. So my question is, how would you define your sound?
Yeah, I think from an early stage, the industry always need to try and give it a name. It's the way it works. But I grew up listening to such a broad spectrum of music myself. I obviously love folk music. I love a lot of the old greats like Bob Dylan and Woody Guthrie and all that original stuff. Yeah. But I'm a huge rap head as well, and I listened to a lot of hip hop growing up. I listened to a lot of punk music growing up, and really just a bit of everything, a lot of reggae. Growing up in South Africa, so I kind of just mixed it all together with my loop pedal, like you say, with the beatboxing, harmonica, and I have a rapper in my group, Mateo Maleko, who's one of the big rappers from South Africa, and so I certainly don't think you could really call us like a folk act.
You come from Kommetjie, Kommetjie, yeah, which is a small surf town in Cape Town, South Africa. My question is, how does your environment influence your music?
That's a good question. I mean, for me, it's everything. I grew up, like you said, just surfing and being barefoot a lot of the time, and I come from a very safe little town far away from anything. And so my early days were just spent on the beach with my friends and walking around the streets and being naughty and just getting into trouble and skateboarding and whatever. So I think for me, my music, like now, I've been writing my second album, and I went back home for 5 months and just took 5 months off, and I just spent so much time at home on the beach with all my old friends, surfing and writing music, and I think that's where my inspiration comes from.
Since you tour large cities and countries overseas, is there a part of you that is still that young boy from a small town inside?
Yeah, I don't think that changes. I think I have seen a lot of artists in my career as I've moved around the world who look like they kind of are sucked into the space. When I was living in New York for a while, there were a lot of artists who maybe came from small towns, but they almost throw their identity away and they take a new identity for their career. But no, I think my roots are a big part of me. South Africa is a very complicated and beautiful country with a lot of diversity and a lot of social, economic and racial politics and problems, but at the same time with all those problems comes all this beauty and realness. Sometimes when I'm traveling in America specifically, but also Europe as well, you lose a little bit of that the rawness of the world, the rawness of Africa.
You opened for 21 Pilots on the European leg of our Blurry Face tour. So what memory do you have, do you keep from that experience, and did it help you building wider crowd, a wider audience?
Yeah, that 21 Pilots tour was really dope. It was big and it was crazy, and I don't know, have you seen their show before? I mean, the 21 Pilots legitimately have one of the best live shows around. I think the big lesson that I walked away was that every night we matched them. They could have chosen any band in the world to open for them, because I think every band would love to, but they specifically chose us, the artists. It wasn't the management or the record label. It was Josh and Tyler who actually chose my music, and they saw a live performance of mine, and I ended up on tour with them. And I was nervous the first night I saw how badass their live show was. Yeah. And I was just told my team, I was like, well, let's do this. I mean, we're here for a reason. And let's not be the opening act. Let's just blow them out the water. And so every night we went to just destroy the crowd, and that's actually what we did. And we made a lot of fans on that trip. And I think actually we scared the 21 Pilots a little bit, because they had to come out after us, and we were just bah, bah, bah. And then they were just shit, this is a bad idea, getting these South Africans on board. Yeah. So it was, I think, for me, an affirmation that we were good. We're at that level.
What are your essentials on tour?
My essentials. That's a good question. My neck pillow is one of them. Okay. It sounds stupid, but when you're on tour, you have to sleep on airplanes, in tour buses, in corridors, backstage. And so as long as I've got my neck pillow tied to my bag, I can kind of sleep anywhere. You know, I'm like a vagabond. So that would have to be like one of the important things. But I mean, other than that, my guitar. You know, if my guitar's with me, then I can sit and write music wherever I am. And so even if whether I'm on tour or not, my guitar is like my other essential item. Maybe my Kindle with all my books on it.
Yeah.
I like to read. Yeah, those two things.
Okay, thank you very much.